Hi, I'm Michael,
And I'm Ansley.
and we are Memory.
So, our topic is about tips to help high schoolers memorize better and help out with that.
So, let me first start by talking about what memory is. Memory is the retention of mental representations or recall beliefs about the past.
And there are three stages of memory: coding, storage, and retrieval.
Now, there are tips regarding each stage that can help high schoolers improve their memory.
In the coding stage, which is the first part of the memory process, the method chunking can help high schoolers memorize more.
For the second stage, storage, meaningful rehearsal and interactive imagery can help high schoolers with their memorization skills.
And for the last stage, retrieval, which is about utilization of stored information, there are meaningful retrieval cues that help on test.
So let me go deeper into chunking. For example, a phone number. We remember easier in groups of 3. So you break down words into things that you'll remember them by, or the way they sound, or general connections about what they mean.
And for meaningful rehearsal, you associate new words with ones you already know. So, like a new word like fortitude can remind you of a fort, and a fort needs strength to stand up. So, you can remember that fortitude means strength.
Another example would be interactive imagery. This is the idea of converting words and ideas into images, making the images essentially interact with each other. So, for example, if you need to remember to buy a chair and some clothes when you go to the store, you can picture the clothes on the chair, and it'll help you to not forget to pick up both of these items.
And for our short term memory, we only have a capacity of about 7 items for about 20 seconds. And the only way to move that to long term memory is to have meaningful rehearsal, like Michael talked about. So, and just keep talking about it, keep thinking about it, and then it will get into your long term memory.
Next, let me talk about retrieval failure. In retrieval failure, cues are not available. So that means it refers to difficulties in recall that are due to the absence of correct retrieval cues or triggers.
So that's a reason why we forget. So there's retrieval failure, what he touched on, and there's decay interference and motivated forgetting, and what else is there? Interference. Did I say that? Yeah, I already talked about that. My bad.
So let me go deeper into motivated forgetting. Motivated forgetting is not remembering certain thoughts because of anxiety, and a lot of people deal with this. So, for example, take a bad car accident that you were in growing up. You might not remember this because of how severe it was and how much it impacted you.
And then another reason why we forget is because of decay. Information simply disappears without rehearsal. So if you have to remember like an address of a family member and you just remember it that one time, you're probably not going to have that information stay for a longer period of time because you're not rehearsing it and you're not sending them mail a lot. And then
So, in context, the hippocampus and temporal lobe is important for memory. So, damage to those areas and that part of the brain can really affect your memorization skills, which are very important for life.
yeah. And then interference is another reason why we could forget. So if you're remembering your mom's phone number, but then your father gets a new phone number as well, it's going to be hard for you to remember both of those numbers because they're interfering with one another. So yeah.
Memory is key.
When looking at each storage stage, however, you have to be cautious of your surroundings as well. For example, you may be chunking. Ask this question: are you listening to music right now? Or how about, what is your surrounding environment like? There's observations like these that end up being the primary causes of why students have such a hard time memorizing information. For example, multitasking is a large belief that many students subscribe to. However, it is actually true that multitasking does not exist. You're never giving your full attention when you're doing multiple things at one time, say listening to music and taking notes. So, therefore, it will hinder your ability to learn and memorize the information trying to be studied. If you're listening to loud music while studying your notes, the two subjects will interfere with each other, causing a hindrance on the absorption of information. You must give your full attention to one thing and not multiple things. So So, while trying to study, offer up a set of rules for yourself. Be in a quiet environment free from distractions. No loud noises. Give yourself time to find a space free of any loud distractions or things to interfere with your studying. Be in a state-dependent learning. Memories formed during a particular physiological or psychological state will be easier to recall while in a similar state. So, if you're chewing gum during your studying, chew gum during the test. If you're listening to music during studying, this is not highly recommended, ask your professor or teacher if you can listen to music while taking the test. No electronics. Put your phone away from when you're studying. Write down the information rather than type it, and put the information in your own words. You're more likely to remember something you produced yourself rather than copying word for word. Try not to listen to music. If you do, it should only be instrumental. Most times the music you're listening to with lyrics will interfere with the information you are absorbing. Try not to study with lyrical music. Soft instrumental music is best if any music is to be played. Study a little bit each day over a long period of time rather than cram. Cramming is bad. Study a little bit of information over a long period of time will help you memorize information better rather than waiting until the last minute to try and cram all the information. Now, what are some other ways that high schoolers can improve their information?
Help keep our brain in a healthy state by including fruits, vegetables, tea, and coffee into our diet. The antioxidants contained in them will protect our brain from any damages. Foods high in omega-3 like fish and egg will help in protecting our brain from any damages and sharpening our memory and improving our mood, as well as protecting our brain against decline. This is due to the fact that the long chain of omega-3 contains DHA and EPA are fundamental to the structure and functioning of the cell membrane and for those of our brain cells. Meanwhile, the nutrients contained in nuts support memory and brain development. Coffee can also help boost alertness and mood. It may also offer some protection against Alzheimer's, a disease associated with memory loss because of its caffeine and antioxidants. Memory supplements can help enhance blood delivery and provide more oxygen as well. They can also improve neurotransmitter support. Nutrients like huperzine A, ALC, choline give off high levels of acetylcholine, which is a key memory transmitter. The nutrient phosphatidylserine is best known to enhance name recalling, facial recognition, words, and numbers, and further improve verbal fluency. DHA also facilitates nerve cells, making functional connections, synapses, and supports healthy memory and overall cognition.
So, when we discuss human defense mechanism in class, mental processes that reduce anxiety have been mentioned, such as one important defense is called the repression, which pushes memories into the unconscious where they are not recovered. And although some studies that shows stressful events kill brain cells, let's moving to the neuropsychologic area. So the hippocampus in human brain is involved in learning, memory, and emotion. So the hippocampus basically just produce new neurons as we learn and try to remember something new and new informations. So, however, constant stress stops the hippocampus from producing new neurons and affect the speed of connection between cells in the brain. And besides, an animal experiment have revealed that single stressful events can also cause damage to humans' new neurons. So I think it's quite important to maintain a good mental condition for high school students. Here are my suggestions. When you feel stressful or anxiety, go talk to some friends and seek for some help when you're having problems, and maybe go to some counseling. So, and these things will just help you release your stress or just and do such things before the situation get worse will help students having a better memory. All right.
So I like to give 3 tips for high school students to improve memory. The first one is get enough sleep. Research showed that if you are sleep deprived, you could be negatively impacting your memory. For example, one study looked at the effect of sleep in 40 children between the ages of 14 and 18. One group of children was trained for memory tasks in the evening, then tested the following morning after a night's sleep. The other group was trained and tested on the same day, but with no sleep between training and testing. The group that slept between training and testing performed 20% better on the memory test. The second one is maintaining a healthy weight. Maintaining a healthy body weight is essential for well-being and is one of the best ways to keep your body and mind in top condition. A study of 50 people between the ages of 18 and 35 found that a higher body mass index was associated with significantly worse performance on memory tests. Obesity is also associated with higher risk of developing Alzheimer's disease, a progressive disease that destroys memory and cognitive function. The last one is pay attention. Ultimately, you want to shift important facts from your short-term memory to a long-term memory. Science dictates that this process takes about 8 seconds of focused attention on a specific item. So next time you need to encode something important, focus on it while counting to 8 alligators and lock it in.
One of the devices used to increase memory would be a mnemonic device. A mnemonic device is a technique a person can use to help them improve their ability to remember something. It is a technique used to help the brain better encode and recall info. It's a simple shortcut. One of the 3 things on mnemonic devices I'm going to talk about today is the method of loci. So the method of loci, first what you have to do is you have to go to a place, or imagine a place that you're familiar with, like your house. And then in the house you have all of your rooms, and then you have to take a word and stick it to each room, and then remember that word for your room. Another way to do that is an acronym, and an acronym is where you take the first letter of a word, and then you put it into like words or a saying that you could have, and then you recall going through. One of them is EGBDF, which could stand for every good boy does fine, or every good boy deserves fudge, and then you remember it that way for certain terms. And then another way is to make a rhyme up, so you can take information and then create a rhyme, and it'll work better in your brain.
Tactics that high school students should use are using flashcards. Using flashcards is really helpful because of the repetitive nature of flashcards. So both in writing out the terms as well as writing out the definitions, and then reading through the flashcards to learn them helps to repeat things, and repetition helps to commit things to long-term memory. And then another tactic is going through your material in a lecture type manner, so re-teaching it to yourself out loud. By doing this, you're explaining the concepts and how they work together, showing the interaction amongst the material, and in making the images of memory interact with each other, you put meaning to the information, which helps commit it to long-term memory.